Hello, good evening. This evening we bought a new camera and we're trying it out. So this is the first one with the new camera. And tonight I'm going to go back in the past. It's quite a few years actually. I'm going to go back more than 100 years to a favourite of mine called Scott Joplin, who is a composer of ragtime tunes. And I learnt these tunes, or some of them, at school when I was about, 11, 12. And then in the mid-70s, Scott Joplin and ragtime underwent quite a big revival because two or three of the tunes from Scott Joplin were featured in a movie called The Sting, which was a big hit in about 1974. And so everyone started getting interested in Scott Joplin, and I sort of swam along with that wave of popularity, and they released in that time quite a few records, and I'm going to show you my collection on vinyl. And the first one is Magnetic Rag, which is probably my favourite Scott Joplin track ever. And the good thing about this album is not just Scott Joplin originally composed his songs on piano, but this was a full band version. So contained double bass, cello, trombone, flute, violins, drums, the full band. And I think the full band versions are excellent. And I really fell in love with this album. It's also got Elite Syncopations, the full band version of that. And that was one which I learnt on the piano around that time. And a sister volume called Ragtime Classics. I think in the States it was called something else, but this one also very strong as well. This contains band versions of The Entertainer and also of Maple Leaf Rag, which is his most famous, again with the same band, and directed by Gunther Schuller, and the previous one, Magnetic Rag, arranged by George Sponholtz. And then the third one in the series, although this was the US version, Palm Leaf Rag, which I had to get on eBay because it's quite rare and I hadn't seen it for sale in the UK. And this contains a band version of Solace, for example. And probably don't quite like it as much as the other two, but it's still very strong. I love the band versions of the Scott Joplin songs, but probably. Those vinyl albums have kind of been lost without trace, and this album originally released on vinyl in the 70s along with that revival, and now still available on CD. Joshua Rifkin playing superb piano versions of 17 Scott Joplin songs, and playing them far better than I ever could. Superb versions. And what I like about Joshua Rifkin's versions is he's playing them at the speed at which the composer intended them to be played. There's a tendency with quite a few versions of Scott Joplin to play them too fast, and indeed the composer actually says in these music books, do not play this piece fast. It is never right to play ragtime fast. And Joshua Rifkin stuck to the letter of that instruction. And quite rightly so. If you look on some of the versions on YouTube, some of the versions of Magnetic Rag in particular, far too quick. I think the image of ragtime is kind of, honky-tonk piano played in a low room bar saloon somewhere in the Midwest, and honky-tonk meaning a little bit too fast, but actually Scott Joplin composed these songs to be played at quite a sedate pace, some of it, anyway. So Scott Joplin, 1868 to 1917, his first big hit was Maple Leaf Rag, 1899. The Entertainer is probably his best known work, along with Maple Leaf Rag, that was 1902. Solace is 1909, Magnetic Rag, the favourite I mentioned, was one of his later works, 1914. And he then tried to compose an opera, and it was called Tremonisha, and unfortunately it didn't do too well. In fact, it didn't ever get performed fully. He did a run through of the songs in front of a few would-be investors with him playing the piano and a few vocalists, and it was a bit of a flop in about 1915, and that sent Scott Joplin into a state of depression, and he died a couple of years later in 1917. But the good news is in the mid-70s, this Tremonisha opera was actually revived in Houston, and I have a pretty rare box set vinyl version of it, and it's pretty nice. Some of it's excellent. I would love to see it on stage, but having it on vinyl is nice, and no, I think it has its moments. It has its moments. But this is the album. If you want to discover Scott Joplin, this is about the only album available, unless you want to get the original piano scrolls, which they may be Scott Joplin playing, but they're hopelessly speeded up, so I wouldn't bother with that. This is decent quality. So get this. So I'm waiting for the next Scott Joplin revival, and in the meantime I'll continue listening to him. So thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like and comment, and see you next time.